Now, a former University of Sheffield student's been in court today over attacks on Chinese students. Shan He, who's 33 and from Edward Street in Sheffield, has been charged with 2 counts of assault by beating and one count of possession of an offensive weapon. The issue of violence against Chinese students in the UK has been big news in China. Kerry Allen is a China specialist at the BBC's monitoring service. Kerry, good afternoon.
Hi, Harry.
So you keep across the news media, don't you, in China? So what have they been reporting about Chinese students in the UK then?
This has been such a big story in the last 24 hours. So yeah, my job is what a lot of people do when they sign off work for the day. It's watching TV, it's listening to the radio, looking on social media, reading newspapers. And there's been this headline that's been dominating a lot of outlets in the last 24 hours, basically saying 7 in a week and suggesting that since the 20th of September, students have been attacked from behind near the university. There have been these images of students with blood on their scalp and on their hands, largely female students. And it's really shaken people up, the idea that that students could go over to a place like Sheffield and not feel safe, that they could be targeted in attacks like this.
I mean, it's reaching diplomatic channels now, isn't it, with the Chinese Consulate General in Manchester getting involved?
Very much so, and this is why the story has been such a national interest. So they've put out a statement saying that they strongly condemn these atrocities in Sheffield, and they've expressed their condolences towards the victims. They've said that they're working with local communities in Sheffield to ensure that they get the support they need, and they're paying close attention to this case. But they're saying that there have been attacks not only in Sheffield recently, but also in areas like Cambridge, and they've also said, quote, other places as well. So they're saying that this is a real issue at the moment. And that's really, as I say, kind of frightened people, not only potential students, given that, the new academic year's just started, but also parents as well, who might have kids overseas here in the UK.
You said there's been a lot of chat on Chinese social media. What sort of things have been talked about then?
Well, yeah, literally thousands of comments on Sina Weibo, which is what Chinese people use instead of Facebook or Twitter. People saying that they think that this is a consequence of COVID-19, that there have been reports talking about how the virus originally started in China and that this has led to stigma and demonizing of Chinese communities. There's been a lot of people saying that they feel safer now being in China than traveling abroad because they've heard of reports not just in the UK of attacks, but also in the US over the last year. And I should say as well, I mean, you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm originally from Chesterfield, and I've got Chinese friends who studied at the Uni of Sheffield themselves, and they find this really upsetting. We've talked over the years about, how did you find life in Sheffield? And, they feel quite shaken up that this could have happened to somebody like them.
So this anti-Chinese feeling that is perhaps in the wider world, you were talking about in the States as well as here, is it going to be sending a message that perhaps going abroad from China is going to be more risky?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, China has largely state-controlled media, so you've got messages very much from the government that go out in newspapers and on TV. And China's been very much wanting to say that over the last year it's been very successful at handling COVID-19, and it's looked at countries like the UK and the US and how there have been failings, there have been large death counts, there's been a lot of protests or rioting happening, and there's been a lot of chaos as they've seen it. And there's been this growing feeling amongst people in China that the Western world in particular is not a safe haven. And the US in particular, this kind of idea of land of freedom and liberty is not the dream that a lot of Chinese people used to think it was. So, you've seen reports like this appearing very much over the last year and a half. And it's made people now start to feel quite scared about the idea of going over to countries like the UK or the US. And this story at the moment is really making people think, God, I'm worried if I was sending my kid over to study in Sheffield or anywhere in the UK, that this could happen to them.
Kerry, many thanks for your time. Good talking to you. Kerry Allen there, China specialist at the BBC's monitoring service.